Hey guys, what's up? Alex Scott here with TrueFire.com. Thanks so much for tuning in. In this video, I want to talk about a problem that anybody who works in a studio faces at some point. Doesn't matter if you're, in the pro leagues all the way down to brand new with your first home studio or more of a hobbyist. It's something we all struggle with, and that is staying focused in the studio. Home studios are awesome for all kinds of things. They're amazing creative spaces. They allow us to practice our songwriting, practice our instruments. They let us demo tunes that we've written, create productions for all kinds of different things, all the way out to creating full-blown commercial records. But you can only accomplish those goals if you're able to stay focused when you have time in your studio. And so I want to talk about some of these kind of things that I've figured out over the years that helped me and a lot of people that I've talked to stay focused when they're working in the studio. So now, the first thing that I want to talk about is defining clear goals for our time in the studio. Now, I always kind of start with like the macro goals. I call them the forever goals, right? The top line, like really, really big stuff, and then kind of go down from there all the way down to defining goals even just in the moment when we're working in the studio. So talking about a good example of like a forever goal would be thinking about just the broad purpose of like why do we have a studio? Like, why have you purchased the gear that you have? What are your very long-term kind of overall goals for what you want to accomplish? It could be something like, oh, I want to become a better songwriter, or I want to demo tunes that my band is working on, or I want to learn to mix records for friends. But working down from there, it's good to determine longer-term goals. So a great example would be like if you're, a songwriter, let's say, and you've purchased your studio equipment for the purpose of writing and demoing and recording your own songs. Maybe your long-term goal is you want to write and record and produce an album. That's a great long-term goal. And then working down from there, you might say, okay, well, this week or this month, I want to get track 1 or track 3 or whatever. I wrote this tune years ago and I want to finalize the arrangement, get the lyrics down, and work towards a final version of this tune, right? We've got our macro goal, we've got our long-term goal, now we've got a short-term goal, finishing this song. And then immediate goals, kind of the lowest tier, if you will, can be goals that you set for yourself even just within a single session. So you may go into the studio one afternoon and say, well, my goal today is to finish the rhythm guitar part on this tune, or I want to get vocal takes down for the bridge. Whatever it may be, doesn't really matter, and it's of course going to be different person to person. But defining our goals in this way gives us a really clear structure and really clear foundation to work from when we're trying to stay focused and get stuff done in our studio. Now, second thing I always like to think about is creating separation within our studio environment. What do I mean by that? Creating separation is all about turning our studio into a space where when we step into it, when we sit down in that chair, when we turn on that computer or whatever it is, a shift occurs in our mindset. It's not even just about physical separation. That is a big part of it. You always want to have, if at all possible, your studio space be a separate and dedicated place in your home or wherever, where it's, that's all that happens there is the music making. But it's all about this shift in mindset, because when you set things up that way, say you have a dedicated desk in the corner of your room, or like even in my case, I have a whole room in my home dedicated just to my studio. When I walk through the door, I sit down in this chair and I look at my monitor.
I'm in work mode.
I am immediately in work mode. I'm in productivity mode. I'm in focus mode, right? And that's exactly what we're trying to accomplish here. One cool trick for this is even to think about decorating your space in a really particular way. So you can see behind me back there, I've got some cool music-related trinkets that I've picked up from all over the world in my travels and tours and stuff. Putting that kind of stuff around puts me in the mood to make music. It makes me think of all the great musical experiences I've had over the years. And so that's just one more thing that's going to help this environment really help me kind of tune in and focus on getting stuff done. Now, the third thing kind of relates back to the first thing. We talked about defining clear goals. Another really important thing to think about is budgeting your time. A lot of people really struggle with, you buy the gear and then you're trying to think about, oh, well, when am I actually going to go in? Do I have a specific time? Am I just going to wait until I kind of have a free, some free time and I'm not doing anything else or I'm bored? That's not how you want to go about it. I always recommend to people actually book your own studio time. Think about it like you are investing in going to a professional recording studio and you're paying hourly. And it's not a far stretch. You've invested in the equipment, right? You've invested your time into your playing. You've invested probably into an interface, headphones, monitors, software, all this different stuff. That's an equivalent investment. And so when you think about it, not as like, oh, I'll just go in there when I have a minute. Think about it as, no. Tuesdays and Thursdays from 5 to 8 p.m. or like whatever it is, wherever it fits into your schedule, book that time, put it on your calendar in your phone. Oh, this week I have 2 sessions, they're gonna be 3 hours each, and here's what I think I can accomplish in that amount of time, practically speaking. It's a really, really helpful technique. Now, another kind of tie-in tip to this is studios require a lot of maintenance, right? There's software to be updated and installed, there's plugins to manage, there's cables. I always recommend budgeting that time separately to kind of deal with that stuff. You know, obviously if something crashes in the middle of a session, you gotta figure it out in the moment, that's fine. Just see if you can find an extra hour every 1 or 2 weeks or wherever is, you know, however it's convenient for you to go in and make sure all your DAW is up to date, your plugins are up to date, there's nothing you need to download or install. Or one of the biggest killers of creativity, in my experience, is dealing with fiddly maintenance stuff. You sit down to try to write a great part, and before you know it, you've spent an hour and a half of your 2 hours of booked time in your studio dealing with software updates or firmware updates or whatever it is. It's really annoying and it can really get in the way of your flow. So again, book separate time for that and then leave your main studio time, you know, kind of as sacred time for you to come in and really focus on just getting stuff done. The important stuff, right? It's all about making music and having fun. That's what we want to spend the majority of our time in the studio doing. So the fourth thing you want to keep in mind, and this is going to sound an awful lot like setting goals, but there's a very important differentiation, and that is setting intentions for your time in the studio. Well, intentions, goals, what's the difference there? To me, goals are about concrete, achievable goalposts. I'm going to finish a song. I'm going to, finish a record. I'm going to mix this, tune, whatever it is. There's an achievable there. There's kind of a checkbox that you can check off. Intentions to me are much more about the why and the how. Like, for example, let's say it's my earlier example, you're a songwriter, you've bought your gear, to practice songwriting and to work on your own songs and music. You're working on a record, you're working on a song. Those are your goals, right? Well, your intention could be thinking about things like, well, you're working on this, writing a new song. And you know that you really love, let's say, Death Cab for Cutie, one of my personal favorite bands of all time. You may want to kind of nerd out and listen to a bunch of Death Cab for Cutie to get inspired, right? So you could go about one of two ways. You could spend your non-studio time, say you're in the car on your commute or you're making dinner or whatever, listening to some of your favorite Death Cab material and making notes about it, thinking about how you can integrate it into your song. And then when you go into the studio, when you go into that time that you've booked for yourself, boom, you've got some notes, you can work on implementing it, you can bring those flavors in. Alternatively, you could spend your studio time doing that. That's your intention that you're carrying into that time. Am I coming in today freshly inspired off all this great music that I've been listening to and I'm ready to lean into working on this song? Or am I gonna get inspired? It's the why, it's the how. It's how am I gonna accomplish my goals? Why am I feeling inspired by these particular artists or by this lick that I figured out the other day, whatever it is. That's really where the intention piece of it comes from. And I think it's equally as important as anything else because while your goals give you those check boxes to check off or those goalposts to hit, your intention keeps the passion alive, right? It reminds you of why you are in the room, why you're so passionate about making music. And that's a really powerful motivator for staying focused during your time in the studio. Now, the last thing that I want to talk about is, I think if you only take one thing away from this video, this is the thing to take away. It's not failing, it's learning. What do I mean by that? It's almost impossible to fail at making music. Right? Even if you play wrong notes or whatever, you're not failing because you can always do it again. You can always try again. You can always practice more, get better. There is one thing that will not only kill your creativity in the moment, but for the rest of time and make you put down your instrument and walk out of your studio, shut off the lights and never come back. And that is feeling any flavor of, I can't nail this part. I can't do this mix. I can't finish this arrangement. Once you decide you can't, you're done. and you want to avoid that at all costs. You want to learn to move through that. And the way that I move through that is by always just keeping in mind and kind of knowing within myself, there's no such thing as I can't in music. You can only ever get better. I can't say in my whole life I've ever seen somebody get worse at making music, where the more they practice, the worse they sound and the fewer songs they know how to. It's like, that doesn't make any sense, right? The more you do it, the better you're gonna get. That's just the natural progression. So just because you feel like you can't do something in the moment, you're trying to, nail a solo on one of your tunes or whatever, okay, you can't right now. Pivot to something else. Go listen to something, eat some brain chocolate is what I call it, like, listening to your favorite Death Cab record or whatever, and, getting inspired again, pivot to working on a different song, pivot to a different part. And this leads to one of my favorite things when working in a studio, which is happy accidents, right? I can't tell you how many times I've been working on a song, right? Producing out a song, and I'm going, oh, I've got to nail this rhythm guitar part. And I'm playing it, it's just not under my fingers, and I keep flubbing notes, and I get really frustrated. And instead of shutting it down and walking out and being all mad about it, I say, okay, I'm gonna put the guitar down for now. This is driving me crazy. I'm gonna pivot and I'm gonna play some keys. And I start messing around with some synth patches just for fun. And suddenly I find a keyboard sound or a synth sound or an organ or something else, and I go, aha, actually, this tune doesn't need a rhythm guitar. This tune needs this keyboard part that I just figured out. And the song is all the better for it. And so not only am I no longer banging my head against a wall and getting super frustrated, I'm now even further along in the creative flow than I was when I started. So again, it's not failing, it's learning, it's growth. It can be frustrating at times, but just never let yourself get bogged down by these feelings of, I just can't do it. You can do something, I promise. And even if you can't do X, Y, or Z in the moment, pivot to something else, take a break, drink some water, eat a snack, come back. Just never, ever, ever let that feeling get the better of you, because nothing will kill all your creativity like suddenly deciding that you're a failure. You're not, I promise. Keep going. You can do it.
You can do it!
So those are a good handful of things that you guys should think about if you're struggling with staying focused in the studio. This is a topic that, again, I come back to in my career over and over and over and over again. I've struggled with it a bunch, which is why I've thought about it a bunch. So I hope this has been helpful to somebody out there who might be struggling with staying focused. But what do you guys think? Do you have any tips and tricks for how you stay focused in the studio? Please let us know in the comments down below. Of course, if you're interested in learning more about music production, mixing, or playing guitar or a wide host of other instruments, check us out at TrueFire.com. We've got thousands of fantastic courses. I've taught multiple courses there on music production and mixing, if that's your bag. And of course, we have some of the best guitar players in the world, all kinds of cool stuff. You can buy courses individually, or you can sign up for our all access membership. Links, again, will be down in the description. Definitely check it out. It's a fantastic value. Again, my name is Alex Scott. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, click that notification bell. All those things really help the channel reach this video and meet more people who might be struggling with staying focused. So yeah, thanks again. Appreciate you watching, and we will see you in the next one.